So, I was on my way to work the other day, and I was leaving my little neighborhood, right? And I'm kind of at the top of a hill, so it's kind of hard to see traffic coming. But there was no one approaching me, and so I pulled out, and like 2 seconds later, this car is like right on my ass, and I mean, she's like this close. I can't see her grill in my rearview mirror. And she tries to blow around me, but the lane she gets in is a turn only lane. So she darts back behind me. We get at the stoplight, and she's still just like right on my ass. So then I'm doing like 5 or 6 miles over the speed limit, and she is still like right on. And I can't figure out I didn't cut her off, right? So she shouldn't be like road raging. And I get to the next stoplight, and it's two turns to turn. So she pulls up right, and I can see her car like accelerating and lurching to stop to try and match my window. And so I look over, and I see this woman in her mid 40s, looks a little tired, probably didn't have as much coffee this morning, and she is fucking screaming at me. And I can't. She's like telling me to roll my window down. And she's like yelling at me, and I keep pointing in my ear saying, I can't hear you. I can't hear. She's like, roll your window down. I said, I can't hear you. The window's up, And so then we go around the corner, and there's two cars in front of us, and they're both going kind of slow. And I'm leaving a gap between the one in front of me, and she's trying to like get into my lane, but the only room she has is like only half a car length. So she like almost runs into me twice. And so I just, I had to get into the other lane to turn anyway. So I slowed down, and she got like over really aggressively and like cut me off, but I was kind of going into her lane, so it wasn't very effective. And then she just blew a red light and took off. So I was like, I'm not really sure what the fuck she was going with, but then I get to work, right? And the street I park on's got like hash side parking, like it's 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
And there's houses, and there was a Mercedes parked in the road, and you couldn't get past it, but I got a small car, so I was able to squeeze by it, because opposite the Mercedes parked in the spot is this big fucking work van for some HVAC company. I don't know. Anyway, I got to park down the block. I get out. I'm carrying my lunchbox. I'm walking to work. This woman sees me. It's a different woman. Sees me walking up the block. I make eye contact with her, and she's parked there because she can't fit between the van and the car. And I'm walking, I pass a van, and I hear, excuse me. And I look over, and it's the old lady in the car. She goes, can you move your van? And I said, that's not my van. Like, you saw me get out of my car. And she goes, oh, well, I just thought, just thought I'd try it. I'm like, what in the fuck is going on today? Like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I blocked a lane off one time down on campus at my old job when I was driving semi trucks, and I was on the phone with my new boss as he's telling me that I had gotten the job, and I was sitting behind a dump truck. So we're doing construction on campus, and this girl on a bicycle tried to sneak between my truck and the curb and kind of slid. And so I'm on the phone with my new boss, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm like really excited for the position. I can, go and do all the drug testing, everything on this day. And meanwhile, this woman's pounding on the side of my door. She's like, fuck you. And why are you fucking parked right here? I'm like, I can't get off the phone right now. I'm sorry. So can't you see I have nowhere to go right now?
Fucking people.
That's
Fucking
great.
people.
But
Anyway,
we're not
welcome.
talking about traffic today.
No, we are not. We're talking about Formula One. Thank you for tuning in to the Tire Preference Podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Tire Preference Podcast. I'm Jake. I'm sitting over here in Missouri. It's kind of raining, so that's kind of nice. I'm looking at Tyler. He's over there in the land of Organia.
Currently raining as well.
Yep. And then we have our nomad Dave. And let's do a quick check-in. Dave, where are you at now?
I'm in Mendocino, California.
In the
Right.
Murder She Wrote house.
Down the street from it.
They don't know that, Dave.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm in it.
He's in
Nice.
it. Well, you
Yeah, and
fucking-
it's
blew
sunny and windy and like 57 degrees.
nice. Well,
so far as we know, Dave still has tires on his trailer, so the offer still stands. If anyone
I don't know.
can
It's
find...
it's a long ways away right now. And
Oh.
that we left it.
Oh shit! All right, now's your chance. Strike while the iron's hot.
Is that kind of weird? Like you could literally take your house anywhere, but you leave it places. Is that kind of weird?
I'm kind of glad we did, because we drove the Pacific Coast Highway the whole way up here.
Mhm.
Way too windy for me to try to drive that fucking trailer.
Oh yeah, been on the
Yeah.
101 plenty of times.
Yeah, it's so I'm kind of glad we just took the truck up and we were able to do it in a timely fashion. And
Right.
yep.
Nice.
So we're in a hotel.
We are here at the beginning of the week to talk to you about the season opener of F1. We'll touch
Finally.
on finally. We'll touch a little
So-
bit on the whole weekend with free practice and qualifying, and we're just going to kind of do a roundup. I think we're going to plan on this being like the meat of our podcasting in the future, with deep dives and other fun stories on off weeks and during the summer break and off season. So
yeah,
we're going to give her a go.
Quick point, really quick, for those of you who listened to the last couple podcasts and you're like, it's race week, why are you talking about testing, or why are you like talking about cars coming out? We had recorded those podcasts like to practice and then finally put them out into the world. So like we were recording them while this stuff was happening, but we just didn't get them out. So that's why it sounds kind of weird on a race week to be us being like, oh, what's happening in testing?
That's a good point. Yeah, we do not magically beam this into existence. There's a bit of a process that goes along with it. So, but
Well, yeah, and we didn't put out the one we actually did talk about, the testing in, was it Barcelona or the preseason
something like that.
in Bahrain?
Yeah.
That's because I found out you cannot do this a little drunk, because I slur my speech real
Oh,
quick.
I didn't think you sounded that, but anyway,
I was listening to myself and I was just like, I could see my eyes spreading a little bit while I'm talking.
Jake was speaking in cursive the whole time. He kept
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
I want to go home. I'm ready to go home.
You were day drinking that round, weren't you?
I was like, so because the first couple of times we practiced, I had like 2 cups of coffee and I never drink coffee. So I was like fucking buzzing. And I was like, okay, well, I don't feel like I got like natural like humor. Like I need to get a little buzz, see how that works. And so I tried that and I went a little too far. So there's an ebb and a flow, and I was on the ebb and now I'm on the flow.
Yeah, there we
There
go.
we go. All right. Well, let's get it going.
Let's get it going.
Well,
So
we have had the first race of the season in Bahrain.
have.
We've finally gotten to see what the cars can do out on the track.
but first, if we can, I think I'd like to start with testing,
Oh, okay, sure.
just so we can move in like the order of the
You mean
weekend.
free practice?
Yes, free practice. Yeah, free
There we
practice
go.
once.
Because like testing was weeks ago. We already did a podcast on testing.
Let's do a podcast on the new cars. Let's do a deep dive on Austin Martin.
Yeah, why not?
No. So did you guys watch the free practices at all?
Yes.
I saw highlights, but I didn't watch them.
Well,
I
yeah,
watched-
same. I watched mostly. I watched half the second one while I was waiting for my car to get fixed, and
Right,
then
right.
I watched the highlights of the first.
I watched a couple of them, and I was really looking to see how quick the cars were, because they said that they're going to be slower on slow corners and faster on fast corners. So I was kind of looking out for that. But my God, you would have thought that there was a tsunami coming with the amount of sandbagging that was happening in the free practice, or so I thought.
So
But we'll
you
get to that when
thought.
we actually talk to
Same
the race.
here, yeah.
Well, so we talk to the race, or talk about the race, not talk to the race. At any rate, yeah. So I thought there was a lot of sandbagging, although it was kind of fun to watch the cars drive around with the beginning of free practice 1. I think Leclerc was the first out, and for a second I didn't recognize the aerodynamic reader, that like big bird cage thing they put on the back of the cars or the front of the
Mhm.
cars. I didn't
yeah.
recognize it at first, and then it's like, what the fuck do they leave on his damn car? Like I thought they looked like
Yes.
I don't know, something like not this, but like maybe a blanket or something. Like, well, they fucked up. There's a penalty. We're up to a great start, Ferrari.
Yeah.
But no, it's just
Sweet.
the aerodynamic thing. But yeah, practices went well. It looked pretty good.
Qualifying. I did watch all the qualifying. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah,
I
it
did
was
too.
good.
I actually got watched that at work.
I was really impressed when I think it was Q1. They're just everyone's setting lap times, and all of a sudden, like you see Bottas like splits the 2 Mercedes
Right.
at the top of the time chart. You're like, oh, holy shit.
Right.
And I thought, I thought qualifying went really well for a lot of the teams. And that was when, like you were talking about, everyone sandbagging in practice sessions, and all of a sudden, like, Mercedes, I think they qualified, what was it, 5th and 6th, I think it was.
Something like that. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
It was anyway, but at that point, like, then they're not sandbagging. That is what Mercedes is able to bring to the table right now.
Yeah, that's what we found. But so it's funny because Mercedes is really good at sandbagging.
Yeah.
So like they do it every year. And so let's see. And so you just thought like, oh, this is just typical Mercedes doing typical Mercedes things. And then it turns out maybe not so much. Mm-hmm. So they qualified 5th and 9th.
That's right.
Yeah. And Valtteri Bottas. So Q2, I'd like to talk about real quick, because there was a big name in Q2 that has not yet been in Q2.
George Russell.
Mick Schumacher. George Russell got Q2 last season. Remember, he qualified P9 and he like cried about it because he was so happy. He finished P9.
That's right. That was when they got points for the first time in 2 years.
Yeah. But he qualified. He was in Q2 last year. I know he was. I don't remember what race, but I know he was. But yeah, Mick Schumacher.
Good for him.
Yeah. That was awesome.
It was great.
It was good to see Haas doing back to old Haas.
Right. And there might be a special reason for that we'll get to when we talk about the race, because there's a bit of a fun thing to look at when you see the race results. I guess we can just get to it.
The
race. So Charles Leclerc starts in pole, and then he had Verstappen right next to him, and then Sainz, Sergio Perez. But it was also kind of fun to see Lewis Hamilton lined up with his old teammate Bottas in a fucking Alpha. Can we? Yeah. When was the last time an Alpha was at the top 10 on a Q, let alone like almost in the top 5?
And like started there, and it wasn't because somebody wrecked out of qualifying or weren't able to set a time for whatever reason. That is where they qualified. That was where everyone was running at full capacity, and that's where they landed.
He was only off Hamilton by 0.2.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Sorry, what were you gonna say, Dave?
Oh, I just said it was a good lap.
Yeah. Either Alfa Romeo took the off season and they just fucking did everything they could, or Mercedes were just like, yeah, whatever. Eight-time constructors champions, we got this.
Yeah, their sandbagging is so bad they're continuing it with the first 2 races.
Yeah, exactly, because it looks better for the Netflix show. So yeah, that was great. The race took off. I think everyone was being real cautious. No one wanted to be the first person to wreck one of the brand new cars.
Yeah, no shit.
There's always like somebody breaks something on the opening lap. It's so chaotic having 20 of those cars trying to run into the first.
I was waiting to have someone run up the ass of Charles Leclerc. I was waiting for that to happen, take him out in the first turn. But since Nikita Mazepin wasn't there, we had no one spin out in the first corner, which was nice. Mm-hmm. No caution flags for a really long time in the race. But there was one thing I noticed above all else, and I noticed, I really started to notice this like maybe 4 or 5 laps in. So one of the reasons they went to this design of car and they changed things like the wheels, and they even changed the fuel, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, because that also has something, a good point about it. They were supposed to make wheel-to-wheel racing more accessible, more easy to do, right? Mm-hmm. More action, more people fighting for anything. And that, except for Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, didn't really fucking happen. And the cars, cars look really slow. They look super slow. And I know that like sometimes, especially like in drag racing, if you have a really clean run, the the slower ones visually are usually like pretty damn quick, but damn, these cars look fucking slow.
Yeah. I wonder if it's just like because Bahrain is not like a really, really tight technical course. Like we've seen in years past, like, through most of like Mercedes dominant era,
right?
Where like, especially when they get on some of those really long European tracks where everyone just spreads out, like you really see the difference between everyone, and then all the manufacturers and stuff. So that's kind of like my thought was, and I thought everyone was just trying to play it cautious and bring the cars home and try to get as much data rather than, like, hey, let's have a race.
They're still trying to figure these cars out. Plus, Bahrain's got a lot of slow turns in it, and
yeah, but still, man. I mean, the whole middle sector is pretty quick, and
there was what is that little zigzag area? They looked like they were whipping through pretty good.
Right.
Coming out of like turn whatever. I don't know.
I mean, they probably are going faster. If you look at the raw data, they're probably going faster. And I'm a super fan, but I don't remember the goddamn lap times from last season. I simply can't be bothered to look them up. So I don't know if they're going faster per lap around the thing, but I mean, they could have been.
Yeah.
But we did get to see some really good fighting between. Oh, something else I wanted to bring up that I noticed. I don't know, maybe lap 10 is all of the Mercedes power cars were not in the top 10. It's like the last six cars. Yeah, the last six cars, and all of the Ferrari cars except for Mick Schumacher, which we'll excuse because he's a rookie still. Well, it's second year, but all the Ferrari power cars were doing really fucking well.
Yeah. No, I noticed.
Did they develop all new power units?
Yeah. So they had to do new engines for this race to fit the new cars, but they're still the hybrid 6-cylinder turbo powered things. But here's the thing. So Mercedes developed, and I remember reading about this, and it's like, so you know what a normal turbo looks like? It's got like it's got an intake and it's got a propeller or whatever.
Yeah.
So when you have a normal car, it's all put together like that. Mercedes somehow figured out how to split it. So half of it's over on this side of the motor, the other half's on that side of the motor. And last season it did really well. That was like really, it made it the balance better, and it dominated. But Ferrari being Ferrari goes, no, we're just going to leave it as the turbo because that's silly. And I don't like the way it looks, and fuck Mercedes. And they just gave him like a big fucking middle finger. And lo and behold, they're doing well. They figured something out, and Mercedes is just like, goddamn Italians, fuck.
Yeah. Well, for most of the race too, because they even Red Bull was keeping up with Ferrari, but you could not fuck with Ferrari on this.
No,
race.
You couldn't fuck with Ferrari. Yeah.
And then what I noticed too, you're seeing the running times at one point, like Leclerc and Verstappen were just way fucking ahead of everyone else too.
Yeah.
Like they were really competitive the whole race. Like we saw in that battle for those 2 laps that they did, which
that was beautiful.
That was great.
That was fun to watch.
It was super fun to watch.
To see like, all right, this new car, you can follow someone that close for that long, and you weren't overheating brakes or anything. Well, they were wrecking tires though. I mean, I think that I think everyone was like starting to pit stop early, and
there was a couple of 3 stoppers. I think Ferrari had 3 stoppers.
Both Ferraris went 3 stops.
Yeah. I mean, one of them was under a caution, so that's kind of a gimme. But the other thing that I thought was kind of cool, real quick, about that battle between Charles and Verstappen was when I was watching the race, it just looked like Charles Leclerc couldn't answer Verstappen's straight line speed on the home stretch, right? So he had to be clever and stick behind him to get past him. But in a post-race interview, Charles Leclerc said that he knew that Max was going to pass him, so he would brake early on turn 1 so he could stick right behind him and get that second DRS zone to pass him, and it worked twice in a row. So that wasn't Charles Leclerc trying to keep up with him. That was him using really fucking clever racecraft to get to sacrifice the pass in turn 1, so he gets the DRS detection zone. So then he gets past Verstappen in this part of the track where he knows Verstappen can't keep up.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fucking cool.
Which that's awesome. I mean, that just goes to show that like Leclerc's not a Ferrari by accident. Like
no, he's not.
Is a really smart, really great race driver. I would have liked to have seen Red Bull win. The 2 double DNFs were really heartbreaking, but
right.
I will say that I think that was a win that Charles Leclerc needed, because I think it was 2 years ago he was on track to win that race, and then it just all fell apart.
He had difficulties or was something
engine
wrong with
failure.
the car.
Engine came out.
But so to back up to their battle too, have you guys seen the videos like on Instagram where it's the in-camera helmet?
Yeah.
How nuts is that?
That's fucking awesome.
You're just like, that's your view going 200 miles an hour down a straightaway.
Yeah, I saw the one on Instagram where it shows Charles Leclerc and he's like waiting for Verstappen, and you can just see like click, 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 click. Like their head moves like my puppy's eyes move when she's in play mode, like the darting.
Yeah,
those guys are like fighter pilots, man.
Yeah, they're fucking psychotic. So yeah, it was, I mean, all in all, besides Charles Leclerc battle with Max Verstappen, I would say it was a pretty boring race.
There was some good, midfield stuff.
There was some good stuff, but I mean, like I seen better, and I did notice, like what you said earlier, through most of the race, I'd say before like the main pack started doing their first pit stop, I did notice that the cars were more bunched up than they have been.
Yeah, and I think once we get a couple races in and everyone's kind of getting a few kinks worked out, because they've only done they've done testing like in Bahrain, they've gone like race simulation lengths and speeds and stuff, but they have not actually is now they're getting the data of like the track behaving differently when there's 20 cars going around it, and all that stuff, and actually being able to pass someone in race mode, or being able like right behind someone in race mode. So I think that it's just going to get better as time goes on with it, and I hope they get stuff figured out, like Red Bull figuring out their fuel pump issue or whatever would be really cool.
McLaren figuring out what's going on with their
Jesus, what happened with McLaren?
I felt so bad for Ricardo, man. He was in 20th for so long.
Yep.
And probably
like they were both down.
Call me George Russell,
Yeah. But and that was the other thing too, is like that, like last season you could tell that Ricardo was struggling because Lando was killing it. And then it's like, now if you see them, they're only 2 people apart, and they're fighting for the last, they're in like the back of the pack, like the back runners, like they've got over at McLaren, they have some work to do, and that's got to be so gut wrenching for him doing so well last year.
Daniel didn't even get out of Q1, Q3.
No,
Q1.
I don't think so. I think he got knocked out of Q1.
He did. He was he qualified 18th. He was ahead of Lance Stroll and Nicholas Latifi. He got out qualified by Alex Albon in a fucking Williams.
Yeah, and the Williams.
I like seeing that. That was cool.
Yeah. So then, but for most of the race, like it was pretty obvious that Mercedes has a bit of a hill to climb.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Switching gears to them.
Especially with just looking at like what we said earlier with the power. I mean, not all the other stuff, but just the power plant. I think that there's at least something to be desired,
Yeah. Because
it's not often the Mercedes chokes on being the most like fastest in a straight line. I mean, sometimes they go more downforce, that's like the game they like to play, but fuck, were they slow.
Yeah, but I mean, at a track like that, like coming out having lost the championship, like the drivers' championship last year, like you think that they want to come out strong again this year. And that like the long straightaways have always favored the Mercedes cars for the last, it's since the beginning of the turbo hybrid era, and they just could not fuck with Red Bull or Mercedes in straight line speed the whole race.
No, they couldn't.
And it's not like because they were talking to Hamilton at the end because he ended up getting a podium. And he was like, yeah, we've got some work to do. But even he had, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he pretty much acknowledged that it wasn't going to happen overnight.
No, because you gotta send it back to the factory and you gotta say, hey, I want this, I want that. And then they have to send it to you. It could be 2 or 3 races before you get the parts that you want.
Even if, and that's assuming that those parts actually solve the problem too.
Right.
Because there's
Right.
100 different things that could have affected that, if not more, on one of those cars.
Well, and I think this also kind of shows, the new thing that they were doing with the allotted time for testing in the off season. Ferrari finishing third had a lot more time than Mercedes or Red Bull to develop a car, and Haas finishing last had the most time to develop a car. And I think that we're finding out that's worth something,
And man, what a race for Haas though, and
No
for
shit.
Kevin Magnussen. Like that's
100%.
incredible.
It is. It was like fun watching him go toe to toe with Lewis Hamilton.
Because
Yeah, that was good.
it's like,
Wait,
I feel
one-
like
He fought him
Sorry, I
off
don't
really
want to
well.
derail, but one thing I want to say before we move on to Haas is given the fact that we saw that Mercedes isn't super strong this first race, and all of the other Mercedes cars, including George Russell for a while, were lower in the pack because of that power plant issue. Look, we know that all those people that drive those cars are really good, and George Russell's a good racer too. But fuck, Lewis Hamilton has, I mean, this goes without saying, but he's got a lot of fucking skill to take a car that's that dog shit and still finish third.
because Red Bull couldn't make a proper
I'll say
engine
it-
for the weekend.
Sure,
If
sure,
Red
he
Bull
would've
had finished the
fifth when he
race,
qualified.
but and I get it.
Well,
Okay,
then we'll say, yeah,
Let
he
me
finished
back up.
fifth.
Although he was battling Perez there before Perez, crapped out.
Yeah,
let me back that up, because I always think about that anytime like you see someone that wins a race that you're like, okay, well, you shouldn't have, or not necessarily like shouldn't have won that. Like if we go back to like Imola last year, I think it was when Ricardo won. It's like, yeah, Ricardo
Monza.
won because in Monza, because the front drivers took themselves out.
right. Or George Russell's first podium being on a rain-sickened Spa, and only got to race like 3 laps.
Yeah.
he
So-
tweets a win's a win.
Wasn't that the
But-
race where Mazepin had fastest lap for?
Yeah, Mazepin had the fastest lap possible.
Still bummed about that.
But he
race.
still finished below 10, so they didn't get the point.
So but like if Red Bull had finished, yes, it would have been a different story, but I'm backing up what I said because Red Bull didn't finish, and that's just how racing works. It is who gets across the line the fastest and in like obviously what position.
Right.
And
right.
Red Bull just could not cross the finish line. So
No, they couldn't.
as much as we like to shit on Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton is one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time.
Yeah.
And I do
100%.
feel very privileged to be able to watch that in my lifetime.
Yeah.
That's not something that you often see.
I would like to see him win 3 more championships so I can say I've seen some guy win 10 championships.
I would like
But-
to.
Whether he gets that or not.
I would. I
I
mean,
also want Ferrari to win. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I want
maybe
Red-
Charles Leclerc could be the 10-time winner.
Yeah.
I want to see Red Bull win too, but you're right. Like if he's got 7 world championships, if he beat like Michael Schumacher's record, I would not be, if it was a good, like if he had come out and won last season, as much as excited I was for Verstappen to win, I would have been super excited with the result of that, because that was an incredibly exciting season to watch.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, it
super
was.
exciting.
Super exciting.
And that's like in the years that I've been watching F1, I think that is one of the most exciting seasons I've ever seen.
So anyway, I'll try to do that as quick as I could. I think before we get back to it, something we talked about doing was being a little bit more I want to say inclusive. So first off, before we start again, all right, gents, what are you drinking?
Oh,
I forgot all about that.
Me too. I am drinking the Velociraptor Guardian IPA from Ninkasi. It's part of their Legends series, where they kind of have a bunch of stuff named after dinosaurs and shit like that. It's kind of cool.
Right. What's it? What's it tipping on the Richter scale there?
Oh, this one comes in at 6.6% and a bitterness of 50 IBUs.
Ooh.
What you drinking, Jake?
I got myself an Elysian Space Dust.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Have you had their?
You can get these out here because AB owns Elysian.
Have you had their? What is the fuzz one that they have? It's like.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've had it.
So I haven't been able to do this yet. but
Optic fuzz or something.
You can mix the two of them together and make hyper fuzz.
I've done that.
Ah.
I've done that. I think they call it Space Fuzz.
Oh yeah, space fuzz. Sorry.
Space Fuzz. Yeah, I did
Space
that. Where it doesn't have the IBUs on here, but it's tipping the scales at a whopping 8.2.
Oh,
Nice.
that's a good one.
It's a good one. And I'm not a huge IPA guy. I never have been, but I really
Love
like
an
these.
IPA.
That's really good. I love IPAs.
Say, speaking of IPAs, I'm doing a nice Anderson Valley Brewing Company Otten, whatever IPA right there.
Look at that.
Ooh.
And it's got a beer on it.
A beer, a mythical creature. I just learned
Mythical
about.
creature. Which, if
What's
you don't
that?
know what a beer is, it's a bear with deer antlers.
Which
So
I
it's
don't.
kind of like a jackalope, which if you don't know what that is, fucking Google it.
I don't want to be super technical with it, but technically, it has elk antlers on it, but it's kind of part of the deer family. So I guess that works.
Belk
Can
doesn't
you,
sound
can you do
right,
me a
so-
favor real quick?
What?
Can you look over your left shoulder? You see that corner over there?
Yes.
Can you just go like walk over to that corner and just face it for like 10 seconds, then go fuck yourself?
Don't threaten me with a good time. We won't be able to upload this onto YouTube if I do that on the recording.
All right.
All right, back to
Let's
F1.
get back to her. So we left off talking about, we didn't leave off. Get it together, Jake. You can edit that bit out. Let's talk about Haas.
Us.
Us.
I'm happy about Haas. I'm ecstatic about Haas. The Vikings back. He fucking got 5th place.
The fucking Viking comeback.
The
Yeah,
fucking
that-
Viking cunt.
God, how fucking awesome is that? I think Kevin Magnuson in his first season when the way back machine got a podium.
I think
I
he was
believe,
yeah, wasn't he with Williams or something?
no, he was with McLaren.
That's
so it was
what it was.
McLaren. I think he did a year at Renault, and then he ended up at
Oh.
Haas. And then, but I think since the podium, this was his best finish in F1,
Yeah, I think it was.
which
Well, maybe. Yeah, it probably was his best one because I know that they finished in the top 10. Was it 3 or 4 years ago now when Haas was finished 4th in the constructors?
Mhm.
Or no, they finished 5th. 2018. They either got 4th by like 2 points or they missed it, and McLaren got 4th by 2 points. I can't remember
Yeah.
which one it was.
It was.
I mean, yeah.
Magnuson had a spicy run. I mean, he was holding on to 7th place like consistently the entire race. Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, then the 2 Red Bulls spin out and he gets 5th. But and then Schumacher, he could have ended up in the top 10 if he hadn't been spun by what was that, Ocon?
Yeah, it was. But that happened really early on, and he fought back, but he just never do anything. But he finished real fucking well. No, he finished like 10 seconds behind the Chinese driver. And I remember how they pronounce his name. I remember it. It's almost like
it's like Zhou Guan Yu.
yeah, Zhou
Yeah.
Guan Yu.
Zhou
And
Guan Yu.
how he did to finish 10th in your first F1 race, like
To
that's
get
no
points
shit.
in your first F1
To get
race
points in
with
your first-
a team
yeah.
that's not known for getting a lot of points.
Well,
Yeah.
and again, we talk about luck. Hamilton finished where he did from luck, but he got into Alfa Romeo when Alfa Romeo has a really powerful Ferrari power plant
Yeah, there
because
you go.
Ferrari did something right with their engines this time. I mean, the proof is on the thing. Sure, the drivers are good, but fucking drivers that finished real low in the points or on the in the spread that are good tested winning drivers are finishing low because they're in Mercedes power units.
Let's say, well, let's also talk about the a team with not so great power unit right now.
Well,
Red
one
Bull.
little thing we got to talk about. We got to talk about before Red Bull. One
God.
tiny itty bitty baby thing.
All right, go ahead.
Is Pierre Gasly,
Uh-huh.
who caught on fucking fire
Oh,
right
yeah.
next to where Grosjean caught on fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the same location.
Yeah, I was
except
thinking
this
about
time he
that.
didn't hit a wall.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why
he's
that's
also
why that fire marshal was so fucking keen on getting over there. He's like,
That-
not again.
I've seen this
No.
before.
that's also Red Bull Honda power
It
unit.
is
isn't
a
it?
Red Bull
Mhm.
Honda power unit.
Yes.
Yep, and that
So-
happened, and I'm sure Christian Horner, immediately dropped his egg salad sandwich. He's like,
Which and you know who was really excited about it was Toto Wolff, because you can see on the podium he had this shit-eating grin on his face the whole time.
yes.
But yeah, so I did a little bit of research. I think it was an electrical issue for Gasly, but I really haven't. I was basing what I heard during the broadcast. I haven't found much about it. And I say that at the time of the recording, I haven't found much about it. And I started doing research probably 20 minutes before we started doing the podcast. Red Bull I had been looking into since yesterday afternoon, which the afternoon of the race. And they believe that it had something to do with the fuel pump. There's some bits to the whole fuel delivery system that are Red Bull manufactured. There's some bits that an outside company manufactured, and then there's some bits that all F1 cars have to use, like these specific, hey, you have to use these parts in the car. And I still think that they were trying to figure out what part it was, because they had plenty of fuel in the cars. They weren't able to pump fuel into the engine.
Yeah. Well, they talked about that too, because no one really had the opportunity to run. I mean, you run race pace for like 5 or 6 laps, but you don't run race pace for 57 laps. So they're thinking that Red Bull might have had a great car for testing, but that just can't handle, because it's a different fuel they're using this time. It's like more, it's got more bio fuel in there. It's like,
well, they definitely have a reliability issue that needs to be
I would say so.
taken care of.
Yeah.
But I would
75% of the cars using your power unit on fail in a race. I think that there is.
Yeah, it's
something to-
probably
yeah.
something you can look into. But with how long this season is, and with how
23 race this
I
this-
think
22, I think.
that was 23.
I think it's 23. I know they
Wow.
dropped Russia, but I think there might be
They
a
added
replacement for
Turkey
Russia.
though, right? And you say somebody said they added Turkey, Istanbul.
Maybe.
Or
Or they might be doing back to back somewhere.
let me check the
I think it was originally a 23 race season. and
it
then they-
is a 22 race season.
22 remaining or 22 altogether.
22
not counting
altogether.
Bahrain?
Okay.
Counting Bahrain, it's 22.
Right.
Let's see. Canada, Great Britain, Spain, Italy, Austria, France, Hungary, Belgium.
So anyway, point is, like, there's enough time. It's not. I mean, if Red Bull can figure their shit out sooner than later and start bringing the fight to Ferrari, then I think that it could be a close title fight. But I think that it's going to be a fight between Red Bull and Ferrari this season. I really do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
think so.
agree with that, because Ferrari did fucking amazing. Charles Leclerc held first place through, I would say 9. I think there was a one lap where he didn't lead, one or
It
two.
probably had to have been a pit lap. I think he was ahead the whole race.
He was
Yeah,
ahead almost all the way.
because the times Verstappen passed him was either he pitted or he ended up getting swapped right back. You
Mhm.
know, so
And because the fucking Red Bull had 2 cars that retired, Ferrari got the 1-2, the first 1-2 since 2010. And that was when they had Felipe Massa and Fernando Alonso. And do you know who got third that race?
Lewis Hamilton
Lewis
with
Hamilton,
McLaren.
yeah.
Got third on that race.
Was he with McLaren on that race?
He was with
Yeah,
McLaren
it
on
was
that race.
McLaren.
And so it's kind of fun to see him up there. Again, with this time with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, of course, the Ferrari drivers. So that was fucking amazing. I love seeing that. Huge Ferrari fan, so I was like pretty fucking ecstatic about it. Charles Leclerc also got fastest lap, so he got the extra point, and he got driver of the day. So he got
that's
the grand slam. He got everything.
No, hell yeah.
Got pole
He earned it
position,
too, man.
led every lap of the race.
He earned it.
He
Mhm.
fucking
No,
earned it.
And that, like we were saying at the start, I think we mentioned like it was huge for him to win this race because of everything that had happened. I think in the 2019 season, where he was leading like most of the race, and then his
Right.
engine failed like in the last couple laps.
It's
Yeah.
definitely going to be a confidence booster for him.
Well, that
This-
and
This is going to be next season of Drive to Survive. This will be an episode.
oh, for sure. Well, and the other thing that people have been mentioning is that this is his third win, but the first two wins he had were in 2019 when Ferrari had that illegal engine. So there's always been
Oh,
that's
it's
right. I
a
forgot
bit of a
stigma on it,
debate saying
asterisk.
is he really that good, or could he only get the W with the cheating machine? And this just proves to everyone that he is that good. You know?
Yeah, no, I think it proves it, and that definitely
he
sealed.
stayed ahead of because he stayed ahead of Verstappen when Verstappen was still in fighting mode. You know, he
Yeah.
didn't he wasn't in second place and then got first place because Verstappen's car died.
Yeah, and it was also a hell of a drive from Sainz too. I think that also proves that Sainz they made a smart decision picking him up.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little lackluster weekend for him. I mean, he would be the first to tell you that. But
Right.
And he did. I mean, he was dropping back behind Leclerc. I think he got down to like somewhere between 8 and 12 seconds. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, he finished 5.5 seconds behind Leclerc.
But that was after the safety car, and they all stacked back up.
Yes. Yeah. On the safety car, which now says every car must unlap, not any
Yes.
car.
Yeah, I saw that.
Every
and they
car must
all
unlap.
went past.
And I saw this little meme, and it had Hamilton and Leclerc in a press conference, and Hamilton's like leaning over and talking to him. He's like, how did you stay ahead of the safety car? Or whatever. Or he's like, how'd you stay ahead of Max with the safety car? He goes, I pitted.
The other thing that I like, the other rule change was like that they now have the new race director says if both wheels go beyond the white line, you have exceeded track limits.
Track limits is exceeding track limits. You cannot do it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of black and white flags that are being thrown that race because a lot of people were, doing it.
Yeah. And I think that there has to be line in the sand rules of like you can't exceed track limits, otherwise your lap time's deleted.
Yeah, sure.
Which I think is a fair punishment for that. You still might be winning the race, but if you have the fastest lap point and you go beyond track limits, then you lose that point.
Yeah,
So,
Right.
It's a good little thing that, I mean, yeah, you got to keep them within the rules, guys.
Mhm. 100%. So yeah,
So yeah,
on the whole, Ferrari 1-1-2. They're currently leading constructors champion. Charles Leclerc is leading.
I smell a good season for Ferrari.
I smell a good season for Ferrari. I'm still going to watch the rest of the people because
absolutely.
you got to watch out for that. So I'd like to go over a couple of quick things that I just thought of just now. These are kind of a couple of random things for anyone new to F1 they might want to know. And
Don't
I might
muffle
get
those, man.
confused on-
Let them out.
let's hear
and
it.
if you
Let's learn
guys
some people.
yeah, if you guys think of anything while I'm saying this, feel free to chime in. So first thing that I noticed this year that's very different and will actually help newcomers to the sport even more are the cameras on the very top of the car, right behind where the driver sits.
Yeah.
Some of them are fluorescent yellow. Some of them are carbon.
I noticed that too.
So the number one driver on the team
It has the
unless you're
carbon
Lewis-
one.
Yeah, unless you're Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton. Yeah.
Number
Yeah.
one driver has the carbon colored and the bright vibrant one, as well as the wheels. So right where the nuts go, there's like a tape.
Well, see, I also noticed that on Leclerc's wheels, he had the little fluorescent like nut thing
Yeah.
going on. Because I
Maybe
was looking
everyone
at
has
that
that.
too.
I don't know.
But I did notice for sure that camera mast
Yeah.
was two different colors on each car.
Yeah.
Like on
And
each
so,
team's car.
so yeah, the new guy. That's just how they're doing it. So yeah, number one driver has the carbon one usually, but unless you're Max or Lewis Hamilton. So
Excuse me.
when you're having an F1 race, one of the main rules they have is you have to pit to change your tires.
At
So
least one time.
at least one time. Now there are some exceptions to that.
I was gonna say,
So-
didn't Ocon last season
He
go an
did,
entire race without changing his
And
tires?
that's because they were on the wet compound.
Oh,
Now, if you're on the wet compound, you do not have to switch compounds at least once during the race. So you could go without stopping for one of the race because that's
I don't
like
know why you'd want to, because you'd lose
Well,
all your grip.
just bragging rights. Well, it's because especially with the intermediates, they start out being a semi-wet tire, but if you're going through the race and the track is drying,
You're gonna lose all that.
well, those tires will end up turning into slicks.
Well, that's what I mean. You're gonna lose all those nubs on there. It's gonna
Yeah, exactly. But if the track's
Yeah.
drying, then you're 20 laps into this thing, the track's drying and you're losing all the ridges on it, then suddenly you're on green slick tires and you're going fast because
Yeah.
you don't have any treads. So yeah, you don't have to pit if it's a wet race, but you do have to pit. And it's not a rule that you have to pit, it's a rule that you have to switch tires.
So you can
So
try to run
if
out
there's
there
a-
while you're on the fly and throw them on.
Or
So
a red
if-
flag.
If you had a red flag, if you had a red
Yeah.
flag, you could switch your tires and then not have to pit the rest of the race.
And you can make minor change. You can replace parts on during a red flag as long as they are the same part, or it's like not a huge
It's-
alteration of the car.
Yeah, but the main thing that they look for with the red flag. So a red flag, if you don't know, there's an accident that is normally if there's an accident, the car's slightly off the track, there's a bit debris, they'll put the safety car out, that'll slow the thing down. It's like a pace car, NASCAR. They just slow the whole race down, so it gives the people time to jump out on the track and clean all that shit up. A red flag happens when there's a really serious accident, heavy injury, or the debris is too intense and they have to shut down the whole race to clean it
close the
up.
whole thing down.
Yeah, you could have a red flag due to weather as well, but those are pretty rare.
We saw it in
Spa,
Spa
last
last
year,
year.
but
At least it was in the midst of football season when that happened, so that pork shoulder that I roasted all morning wasn't like a complete waste. Like, god damn it.
yeah, but getting back to it, so yeah, under those things, and then to talk about what Tyler said, you can replace certain parts on the car, but they have to be the exact same weight or heavier. They cannot be lighter.
Mm.
And they will call down FIA stewards down to the car and go, look, here it is off the car, it is on the scale, it's off the scale, the new part's on the scale, whatever, and they'll give the thumbs up or they'll give the thumbs down or whatever, and they'll say, yeah, do it.
Seems like a long pit.
Yeah.
Only
I
for
mean,
red
some of those
flag.
red flags have been
Yeah,
almost an
yeah.
hour before. So
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
change parts unless it's a wing. They don't change parts on regular pit stops. And
Well, just a front wing. Just plop it on and off
Yeah.
real quick. They bolt on
Mhm.
pretty easily.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And then something else that has to do with pits. So your garage or your pit box is based on how your team did the year before. So as you're coming into the pits, the preferred position is to have the very first stop. Slow down, stop, and then you go. So you'll see, like, for example, Mercedes had the Constructors Championship, so they had the first box this year. They usually have the first box, and so they'll get the first box right as they pull into the pit there. And then people like Haas will have the one all the way down to the very end. And you would think, like, in my mind, for some reason, I'd rather have the one at the end. I can just get down there, boom, and then get out. But if you're pitting and you do it in the wrong frequency, you could be waiting for everyone to come out while you're just sat there. Whereas if you're in the back, you get the right of way.
You inadvertently answered one of my rookie questions. Was
What was
why
that?
do they say box?
Oh,
The
I
pit
don't.
box.
I think it's just it's a pit box.
Yeah. I think it's just what they call it, like nomenclature, like, and out here, or like with NASCAR, they say like doing a pit stop or something, but like over there, I feel like it's more frantic. They're just like box,
Yeah,
box. Like,
Also, I thought maybe like box was like a word that they could say into the mic and wouldn't get confused with anything else, and they would know
that
it.
too. Yeah.
But
yeah, it's a lot easier to say box rather than pit stop.
yeah, or
Yeah.
pit. Like
Yeah,
right,
pit.
It sounds like
could get
that
confusing. I guess.
like Danish rapper that's like famous on like Instagram. It's like party every day. What are you trying to be like? Pit.
All right. Well,
So I guess
no, go.
dude, sorry, go on.
No.
Do you have
no,
another
No.
question?
Oh no one talk. No one just everyone else just.
We'll just sit here. I'll wait.
I'll just wait. Yeah.
If you got thoughts you need to get out, that's okay. We're
That's
here to
fucking-
answer questions.
Go.
No, I was gonna say, do you have any other questions, Dave? When you had a couple you're
Oh
thinking
yeah. Now that we're on the rookie questions I've got.
Yeah, we're in the learning corner.
The learning corner. So I was watching the race with my wife, and they were talking about on some of these new rule changes on the lower temperatures on the wheel wraps.
Oh yeah.
And I was I didn't realize that was that they could have they can't have them past a certain temperature.
Yeah. So when you're watching an F1 race, for anyone else that's new, you might notice, like especially at the start of the race, or if you're watching qualifying, the tires will be wrapped up in these blankets, and they are literally heating blankets. That's why when the tires come out, they're so shiny. It's because those blankets are super hot there. I think.
Think about like for the layman, if you've ever had a pizza delivered to your house, and they pull the box out of that bag when you're at someone's house, same thing. Like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's just, and the tires work better if the rubber's a little softer.
Yeah, work better when they're hot. And so what you'll have, so what am I trying to say here? Collect your thoughts.
Yeah.
What that blanket does is it helps bridge you to getting your tires up to the temp, because the tire running temp is super hot. So like when they take the blankets off, they usually do it the last second, and then F1, like for example, at the beginning of the race has a formation lap, and that's set up just to get your tires warm. So you'll see the cars weaving back and forth. Looks silly, but it creates much more friction on those tires, gets those tires warm. You'll see them speed up and slow down, so they're slamming on the brakes because the brakes have an operating temperature that they need to work at. Too hot is too hot, but they need to be hot to work properly. And then right before they get into their little starting locations, little starting box, you'll see the cars slow down, and then they'll do this little wiggle. That's them literally lighting the back tires up to get more friction, lay some rubber down, kind of like a drag racer does when they go take off. So
them tires good and sticky.
Exactly. The warmer your tires are, the better. Now they also use these blankets, and this is where the temperature thing is going to come into a bit more play. They also use those blankets to keep the tires warm before they go in the car. So they have all the sets of tires they're going to use that weekend. They only get a certain amount. But say you're Charles Leclerc, right? You're driving on the soft compound, which is the red rimmed tire. So the tires, there's 3 that we're going to be using all season. And that's the red, yellow, and white, which is much like our logo. The red is the soft, the yellow is the medium compound, and the white is the hard. Red soft, it's more grippy, but it will run less. Intermediate, just as it says, intermediate. Hard compound, grips less, but it will run for longer. It needs to be in those blankets to keep them hot. Last season, they used to crank the temperature up on those blankets, so your out lap, or your lap that you have when you get new tires
coming out of the pits.
Coming out of the pits, a little bit more grippy, less prone to sliding. They dropped those temperatures down, and the tires are even harder this year, so they're harder to get temperature back into them.
And that showed on a lot of out laps.
Yeah,
Yes,
it showed with Hamilton, especially in this last race.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of understeering, a lot of wiggling around, especially Bahrain's got a really fucky pit exits. A lot of pit exits on a lot of places will go around the first turn and exit after the first turn. This one does not. It throws you right out into the first turn. You go pit speed up for 2 seconds, hard on the brakes, and then you mess up because your tires aren't as hot.
Yeah.
So it's just going to make your outlap a little slower and a lot more important.
Yeah. Well, that's another factor to throw into this season.
Yeah.
There's already a bunch of stuff that these guys got to contend with, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the season goes and how they adapt to this first race and how things went, and especially teams like McLaren that rounded up the bottom, man. If it wasn't for the DNFs, I think they would have finished 20th and like 18th.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ricardo finished 14th. This is official finish. He finished 14th, and Norris actually finished 15th.
Yeah.
Norris got passed by Ricardo.
We got passed by Ricardo.
I don't remember seeing that. They weren't really
might have been
and all that much.
I think that Norris was always ahead of Ricardo, and then their vehicle and the attrition rate just brought them closer together.
I don't know why I've never noticed this, but their numbers are right next to each other. Daniel
3 and
Ricciardo's
4.
number 3 and Lando Norris is number 4.
I never noticed that either.
That's kind of funny.
All right, so you guys want to move on to talk about finish, like how we're going to score our fantasy stuff, or
we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't have any other rookie questions, or do you want to just say
no?
that?
That was my rookie questions. I'll have more to come. Trust me.
I think we're gonna do. We kind of been talking about this a little bit in the behind the scenes. I think we're going to just do a rookie episode where we explain a lot about
that'd be good.
Random rules, weird shit like that.
Stuff for the common guy coming in doesn't know much about the sport.
Penalties, why they do them, how you can get a penalty, how you can not get a penalty, that kind of shit.
Slightly intoxicated opinions about different penalties in the past. Like, that would be a good episode to do, like on an off week.
Just get shit housed and talk about rules and regs.
Let me tell you about these fucking rules and this fucking race and all this bullshit. Yeah, that'll go over really well.
Yeah.
We're never getting a monetized YouTube.
No, we're not. Well, we'll make it on iTunes or Spotify soon.
We'll figure it out.
Well, yeah.
So anyway, fantasy.
Fantasy.
Our own special little fantasy league.
Well,
we should. Yes, go on.
Before, I just want to say my fantasy team, which I didn't keep track of, the pit crew, because I don't know why. I just forgot about it. So my team, if you can't,
to be fair, they weren't showing a whole lot of teams pit times.
No,
at least in the broadcast that I was seeing. So the only one I saw 6 Ferrari,
when you guys,
and then a few Red Bull and a few Mercedes times.
When you guys were you watching under the F1 Live or the F1 International?
International.
I think I was watching under F1 Live.
See, I did International also because I like Martin Brundle, and
I fucking like.
I thought Lights Out and Away We Go sounded different.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap it up here, gents, with our fantasy league, and then we'll go ahead and do some quick predictions for next week in Saudi Arabia.
Sounds good.
So
let's do it.
We are currently we talked last podcast about doing a fantasy league just because we're making our own. There is an official Formula One fantasy league out there, but we're not going to be a part of that because we do our own thing, and we're also lazy and don't want to download too many apps on our thing. So what we did was we did a total random draw, and we're going to hammer out a lot of details. We're working on a point system right now, and we're going to officially pick it up next race. But to reiterate, starting with Dave, we did a random number generator for team, pit crew, and driver first and second seat, and we're gonna we'll go into more detail about that later, but there's importance for each one because all 3 of those things can be pretty competitive. So Dave, his team is Haas. His drivers are Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez, and his pit crew is the Ferrari pit crew. My fantasy team is Red Bull. My drivers are Carlos Sainz and K-Mags, and my pit crew is Mercedes.
Kevin Magnussen for the late person.
Yes, Kevin Magnussen, the Viking. He drives for Haas. Tyler's fantasy team is McLaren. his pit crew is also McLaren, and his drivers are Nicholas Latifi and Charles Leclerc.
I was really excited
like
about that a week ago.
One driver and then another.
Yeah, no shit. Complete
Leclerc
opposites.
is
Although
pulling my
it's-
fantasy team.
Is it driver and driver, or is it team and team that's keeping that separation? I don't know how great I mean, he seems like an okay driver, but I
Are we
don't know
talking
if
about
he's
Charles Leclerc?
Yeah.
Well,
As
so he
far
was
as fantasy goes, Charles Leclerc is dragging this whole fucking shit show along. Like,
Well,
there's no.
I know, but is it Charles Leclerc and this new Ferrari against Latifi and that Williams?
I don't know.
Put him in the
see.
same car where they at? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know much about Latifi, so
You know.
Right. So let's move on real quick
Sorry.
to the
Sidetrack.
No, you're good.
Saudi Arabia Grand Prix.
Yay!
It is
Hooray.
happening March 25th through the 27th.
I like that track. That was
It's a fun track.
Really fun track to watch. Last year,
I'm having a
Just-
hard time recalling it.
it was
It's a really skinny track. It's like this one was like very bulbous, but this one's very skinny and thin.
Very thin.
it's
Rick
very
Owens.
there's some good straightaways and a lot of really tight corners.
Super tight. It's a street course.
It's a street
Oh,
course.
I remember this course now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But-
I remember this.
The thing that makes me excited for it, and I'll draw this comparison again, and this is for like the more longer term F1 fans that have been out there, is like when they started racing in Baku, I think it was, or not Baku,
Baku.
was it in
Wait.
Azerbaijan, right? So the first year they raced in Azerbaijan, it was kind of slow, it was a little boring, well, we'll say. And the second year they raced there, everyone knew what the track was layout. It was a different season, and the race was off the fucking chain. Like, there was red flags, there was people crashing into each other. I was on the edge of my couch the whole fucking race.
Right.
So that's what I'm looking forward to. If something could be similar to that in Saudi Arabia this next weekend.
It might be, but they have new cars this time.
Yeah.
When they had Azerbaijan, it was the same cars both seasons.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take them a few races to really get a feel for these new cars
Yeah,
before
I
they
do.
start really racing each other.
yeah.
I agree. But
We'll
as-
see. I don't know.
As far as my prediction goes, I would expect to see Ferrari doing very well. I think that's a safe bet. I think Haas is going to do better than they did this time. I would expect definitely see both Haas cars into at least Q2, one, maybe both into Q3. We'll see.
Ooh,
Who
it'd be
knows?
nice, but we'll see.
It'd be nice. I think Red Bull's going to be right on their heels, but I don't know. If they can't, if this is a problem that's more than a 2-race solvable problem, especially with it being back-to-back weeks,
Could mean no
might have a
season.
similar fate that they had last time. This just race we just had.
All right. Dave, what's your thoughts on the next race?
My thoughts. All right. Well, hopefully, well, obviously, I'm gonna go ahead and say Ferrari hopefully has an awesome race. I mean, they've got everything working for them right now. Everything's in the right place. They've got a great car. They're two awesome drivers, and everything just seems to be fitting together really well for them. And I expect that to go for a little while, not just, a one and done kind of thing on the first race. But I would like to see, I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if I can call this a prediction more than a hope, to see McLaren jump up a few spots, not be straddling the back of the pack.
Right.
Yeah.
Haas, I see Schumacher doing better, and Magnussen probably, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Jake and say hopefully both get to Q2.
Mm-hmm.
Race wise, I'm gonna go one in the top 10. I'm gonna go one in the top 10.
All right.
for
All right.
Haas.
Sorry.
But that's all I got for predictions. Well, hold on. I'm gonna go Hamilton's not getting a podium in the next race.
What's your wild card prediction? Because I got one that I was gonna say, but I
A
forgot.
wild card, prediction.
Wild card.
Since I'm counting on him for points, Stroll will get some points this. He'll finish top 10.
I think my wild card prediction is Bottas sees the podium.
Ooh,
Oh,
right.
that's a wild card, but it's also a wild card that could happen.
It's got a little traction.
It's not out of the realm of
It's
possibility.
not out of the realm. I
Yeah.
think he gets a podium.
Wild prediction. Well, my predictions for next week is I think that Red Bull will get. I don't know. Hard to say. I think that Red Bull is going to figure out what their problem was.
I think
be
they
a little
will.
more competitive. I think that it's going to be a Ferrari on the podium and Red Bull two. Whether it's two Red Bulls or two Ferraris, I don't know. It's hard to say. I bet Red Bull splits it. And I think that Mercedes, if Red Bull can go the distance, I think that Mercedes is going to find themselves off the podium next week. My wild card prediction is maybe like going sometime on the first lap, like one of the Max just gets too punchy and causes a wreck, and then we see maybe a Haas podium or something.
Yeah.
If the Mercedes remain uncompetitive, then I bet it's like Mercedes Haas on the podium.
Right.
I'm gonna change my prediction because my wild card, because it was solely based on my fantasy. My wild card prediction is I think Sainz and Leclerc are gonna tussle back and forth for that number one position. I think we'll see Sainz fight a little bit harder in this next race and possibly go with a P1 or finish at least ahead of Leclerc. At least, I mean, he's going to be gunning for that. He's feeling the weight on him. So I think he's going to be motivated. He's going to be ready to go. I think if he has a good starting weekend, I think by race time, we'll see him pass Leclerc. That's my wild card.
Right. All right.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time then, I guess.
This has been the Tire Preference Podcast. Hope you enjoyed. You can follow us on Twitter at Tire Preference Pod. No, I think it's just Tire Preference on Twitter.
I don't use Twitter.
You can find me at t.k.66@hotmail.com if you want some lackluster content. And there's a YouTube channel now.
We do have a YouTube channel.
Hey,
so far that is going to be the easiest way to listen to this podcast.
Well, the only way to listen to the podcast.
So far, the only way. Dave,
be nice with the comments. I'm sensitive.
I
don't think there are any comments.
Yeah, we got no comments.
We have none.
What's the name of the YouTube channel, Dave?
It is Tire Preference Podcast.
Yep, and you'll know it's us because the thumbnail picture is of three little tires on the racetrack.
So please like and subscribe that.
Hit the bell for all the little notifications.
Yeah, and if you want to say something in the comment section, say something in the comment section. I don't know, maybe we'll argue with you about it or something. We'll see.
Yeah.
I won't look. I'll let these guys look.
And we're I don't want to say the term grassroots because it's kind of overused and all that, but we're a DIY podcast, so share with your friends. Tell them about it.
We're recording on Zoom and
we're recording on Zoom.
iMovie.
I mean,
and
releasing it on YouTube.
Yeah, we're posting it on YouTube because it's the easiest thing to share around. It's
we're
a
low key.
grassroots thing. So
we get some funding.
If you like and subscribe, you'll know when the videos come out. We're trying to do it once a week. And I mean, it's all appreciated. We really appreciate everyone that's been listening to the podcast. So we've had a few listens on YouTube, and that's been great. So,
and I promise, as races happen, the podcast will get better because we have more to talk about.
We'll have more practice too. I think that's
the first two we put out were a little lackluster just because we were just trying to get this thing going. So
the second one's called "We're Trying." We understand that this is a shit sandwich. We're trying to not make it a sloppy one.
I think we're honing it in. We're getting into a sloppy Joe situation where it's making a sandwich, but it's still sloppy on the edges.
If you've made it this far on the podcast, you probably don't need to hear this, but when you listen to the podcast, try listen to the whole thing. So Dave doesn't text me anxiety messages about the average listen time being less than 5 minutes.
But to the people that have listened this far, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad, and to our significant others for listening to the podcast.
And thank you to
we thank
myself
you.
for listening
Yes.
to it 3 times at work.
You're the core of the rubber army.
Damn it. I keep looking at all those views and I'm like, oh man, we've got views. It's you guys.
It's and the fun, we don't have that many subscribers. So
All right, we'll
it's
get
just,
There's 10
we'll
of
get
them.
it. Yeah.
All right, well, we're getting there, fellas. We're
We're
getting
getting
there.
there.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what? Just a lot with life and everything else. Just keep within the track limits.